You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston. Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Donald Trump says he's pulling back on his threats to widen attacks in Iran to include an array of bridges, power plants, and other civilian targets, subject to Iran agreeing to a 2-week ceasefire and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier Tuesday, Trump had threatened that Iran's whole civilization would be destroyed if it failed to meet his latest deadline to strike a deal. His threat prompted Democrats in Congress, some United Nations officials, and scholars in military law to say such strikes would violate international law. UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric.
The threats that we are all violations of international law, international humanitarian law. What is a crime, what is not a crime, will have to be determined once something takes place, and we very much hope that none of the threats that were verbalized will actually be implemented.
Vice President J.D. Vance was in Budapest on Tuesday, urging Hungarians to back Prime Minister Viktor Orban in upcoming elections. Vance says European Union nations have been actively working to keep Hungary from re-electing Orban.
What has happened in the midst of this election campaign is one of the worst examples of foreign election interference that I've ever seen or ever even read about. The bureaucrats in Brussels have tried to destroy the economy of Hungary. They have tried to make Hungary less energy independent. They have tried to drive up costs for Hungarian consumers, and they've done it all because they hate this guy.
Orban is trailing in the polls ahead of Sunday's election. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 85 points, the Nasdaq rose 21, the S&P advanced 5. More at townhall.com.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? The Dragon's Prophecy is powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes.
If you use Samsung's texting app, this one's for you.
Samsung Messages will be discontinued in July. Impacted owners of Samsung smartphones and other gadgets being asked to switch to Google Messages as their default in the meantime. The company says this will help maintain a consistent messaging experience on Android. All Samsung Galaxy phones run on Google's Android operating system. Users of older Android operating systems dating back to Android 11 and older will not be impacted. Rich Thomason reporting.
J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon warns a resilient U.S. economy could face renewed inflation pressures if the Iran war disrupts global energy markets. Dimon says turmoil in oil and commodity markets could affect everything from gasoline prices to manufacturing costs. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-466-9625. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-466-9625.
In it, you can recline in it, you can watch TV in it, you can eat in it, you can sleep in it. It goes to zero gravity position. The Max Recliner helped me recover. It also has heat and massage, a place to charge your cell phone. Come out to Gallery Furniture, buy a Max Recliner before your surgery. Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, or after your surgery, Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, and you'll sit and sleep great tonight.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down, but your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 on and on and on. Over there. No.
1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself for Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate, stimulating, hit you right in the... there you go.
Oh, yeah.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus. Oh, God, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. It is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Thrilled to be with you, and a whole crap ton of stuff to talk about. And yet the biggest, most obvious conversation is the latest announcement from President Trump, which came about 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes ago, in which he said that there seems to be a deal in place. The deal is contingent 100% on the Strait of Hormuz being wide open. I feel like it's got to be floodgates version of open, which is what President Trump wanted in the Truth Social post, the truth that everybody was talking about on Sunday because of his use of a bad word. But nonetheless, the thing better be open, and then there's going to be a 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the United States where, and this is the claim, I've seen this reported a few places, most of the needed agreements between Iran and the U.S. have been ironed out. They are very close to whatever the necessary additional agreement things might be, to where hopefully, inevitably, this whole thing is over, which I think is what President Trump was talking about. Now, I want to get into something else. I think that's a big deal, an important story. I intend to update you on anything that might change, any moving pieces that go there. But I'd actually rather talk about the Tucker Carlson President Trump drama to start the show. And I'll tell you a couple reasons why before I hit play on some audio. I think, and I think that this might be true of a lot of media out there, there's a certain point of the day, 6 o'clock is probably that point, where if you listen to any conservative radio, any conservative media, television, podcasts, you've heard a lot of stuff multiple times in multiple places, like the same people or different people, similar reactions, the same thing over and over again. So I don't intend to continue to talk about that stuff all the time for just 1 hour here on this radio show. Occasionally, I will do that, I think, if the news feels so big that I should. But other times I'm going to do this, something totally different. It's in the vein. It's still obviously political, and it's about Tucker Carlson being, it seems, very upset with the use of language and also some of the things that Trump said about a religion that I think Tucker and I and a lot of people are not. But I want to play it, and I want to react to it because I think it's interesting. A lot of people now feel as though Tucker Carlson is a grifter. He's a new Reich, according to Dana Lash and others, meaning essentially that for some reason a lot of the positions he takes seems to be overwhelmingly critical of Israel, et cetera, et cetera. I don't necessarily think that's true. I want to be very clear about this. I think aspects of it are true. I think shades of this are legitimate. And a lot of hosts like Megyn Kelly and other people, it seems even more so to be accurate. But there's still this interesting through line with Tucker Carlson to me. I do not agree with a lot of the stuff he says recently. I have issues, not that I'm upset for him saying these things, but I have issues with the end results or the conclusions he comes to. But nonetheless, as I think about it, there's always these moments where it seems to be a more cerebral request of the audience to think about the things, how Tucker is talking about them, whether you get to his same position or not. I think there's a more honest approach from Tucker, no matter what he believes, because he believes stuff I don't believe. I said that a second ago, than some of the other people out there doing this stuff. So that's why I still find him interesting, even if I don't agree with him all the time. I can find people interesting for a variety of reasons that don't necessarily mean that they're just saying the things I think. But here, without further ado, I'm going to go to this. This is part of what Tucker did when he complained on his show about President Trump and the use of the F word in a Truth Social post. Also, criticism or mockery, I think, is how Tucker will describe it, of a faith that is not his, not Christianity. But here we go.
You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? You'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. So obviously you're mocking the religion of Iran. Okay. If you seek a religious war, that's a good idea. But by the way, no decent person mocks other people's religions. You may have a problem with the theology. Presumably you do if it's not your religion, and you can explain what that is. But to mock other people's faith is to mock the idea of faith itself, and we should never mock that.
Yeah, see, I don't necessarily agree with the end conclusion there. I do agree that by and large, decent people don't mock the religion of other people. I do agree with that. By and large, if I'm around somebody that seems like a decent human and they say that they're a religion that's not mine, I nod my head and I go, okay, your religion's not mine. All right. And if they want to go deeper, if they want to have a discussion about their religion and I know certain things about it, or they want to share with me their interpretation of something, I'll have those debates, those discussions. Although I want to say this going in before I play all this audio with Tucker Carlson, I continue to think that I understand why Trump does something that he does. And that matters to me because you could say a blanket statement like, no president should ever use a terrible word, a word that I might use a lot in my everyday life. No president should use a terrible word on a Truth Social post or a social media post when talking about another country and say certain stuff about that country. That shouldn't happen. That's not presidential. And yet it appears to have worked. What I think the whole mission was, if Trump was on his own mission from Sunday to today, to Tuesday at 6 o'clock Central Time here in Houston, Texas, 6:13 Central Time, the mission was to get Iran to believe him, to believe that he would actually do the things he was saying he would do. Because one of the biggest challenges that our country has faced for a very long time, not specific to Trump, although I do hear callers on other shows saying how Trump's a chicken and doesn't do any of the things he threatens to do. But nonetheless, that's a problem with other presidents. That's a problem the United States has had multiple times when sanctions fail and don't work, and we threaten to do something that we never do. Inevitably and often, people eventually decide to call our bluff. So I think the president for the last 2 days has been trying to behave like a person who was not bluffing. And I think that worked. I think the reason for the likely ceasefire, the 2 weeks of a pause here, whether it was negotiated by other leaders of other countries, asking President Trump to do something or not, it's also a reflection of Iran thinking, if we don't do anything, if we don't say we're going to do something, maybe we won't actually live up to our promise, and then maybe bad things will still happen. I don't know. But nonetheless, if we don't offer this thing that he's asking for, it sounds like bad things are going to happen to us. And they didn't want that, obviously. And so I don't know. To me, again, I keep thinking that some of the value here, obvious, is the performative aspects and how they turn into valuable actual circumstances, things that occur because of the performance. Let's go back to Tucker, though, because he's irate about the tweet about what he thinks is religious disrespect, which it was, and also about the use of a bad word on Easter Sunday.
Because at its core is the acknowledgement that we are not in charge of the universe. We did not build it. We won't be here at the end of it. We can destroy life. We cannot create it because we are not God. The message of all faith at the biggest picture level is the message in our Bible, which is you are not God. And only
Correct.
if you think you are do you talk this way. But it's not just mockery of Islam. And no president should mock Islam. That's not your job. This is not a theocracy. We don't go to war with other theocracies to find out which theocracy is more effective. We are not a theocracy. And God willing, we never will be, because theocracies corrupt the religion.
Yeah, this is interesting to me, too, with Tucker Carlson, because I do think that when you mock the use of religion, and he keeps saying theocracy, which is what this is, the use of religion to back certain positions that governments have, and Iran does this. Iran uses its religion. Many other countries that do things in the world of Islam that are horrible objectively in our society, they do it within the guise of it's part of what they condone religiously. So I think that when you're facing a foe that utilizes religion a certain way to back the horrible things they do, that in those circumstances directed at those countries, this is also an effective thing to do. When you look at things in a black and white sort of, can we say or do this? Should we say or do this? Yes or no? What do you think morally? Which is, I think, where Tucker Carlson is trying to go with a large amount of his show, and a lot of the reason he got a complaint. I think you make a mistake constantly in the minutia, in the specific details of any one interaction. And I think a good leader, a good person at the forefront of any organization, certainly of a country trying to get other countries to behave, everything he does, it's always in the moment. Does this work right now for this reason? Do I have the necessary components in place to think that what I'm doing benefits my country and me? Yes or no? And then you do whatever the things are. Like, I think that just having a black and white brush that you paint with and saying this is or isn't appropriate when it comes to words, when it comes to tweets or Truth Social posts or any of that stuff, it's insane as far as a standard for us to force someone to live up to in every circumstance all the time, or else we're now going to turn on them. And that seems like what's happened with Tucker. It seems that his show was a lot of Trump bashing. Here, I want to play a little bit more.
No, this is a mockery not just of Islam, it's a mockery of Christianity. To send out a tweet with the F word on Easter morning promising the murder of civilians and then saying praise be to Allah without explaining any of it, you are mocking me and every other Christian because we're Christians.
No.
We can't support that.
No.
That is evil. That is an intentional desecration of beauty and truth, which is the definition of
No, this is extreme. This is someone who's very much drinking their own Kool-Aid, is what I think here. It's not that even the things that Tucker is saying to me are logically incorrect. I should preface with that. There's things he's saying where I can follow the logic. I can understand the belief system, and I would think to myself that in certain circumstances, maybe some of the stuff he's saying is right, just not this one, and not maybe several other circumstances. And by the way, as far as the specific being upset about the use of the F word, I don't know. This is a weird thing. I'm just going to talk about this, and then I'll take a break, and we'll come back, and we're going to do more Tucker stuff, whatever. I don't know at what point society has pretended to be two things at the same time. If you watch podcasts, Tucker among them, if you watch all these things out there on social media that are now tremendously influential of several generations of people, the language in those things, the places they're going for their basic entertainment, not television, not broadcast TV, not broadcast radio, which to the chagrin of a lot of us is true, that younger generations don't necessarily go there. Language is ubiquitous and terrible. Like awful language is something that you get everywhere. No one is worried at all. There's no FCC fining people any of those places. So I do think, whether you like it or not, whether it's a thing you say or not, that Trump using a word like that in a tweet or a Truth Social post is pretty common in the current society we live in. So it is a reflection of society, and it was, I think, designed to also get attention. It was designed to have these people in these talking head places obsess about it and discuss it, because it was actually intent to get a message to Iran that I'm not kidding, that I'm likely to do something, and I'm going to do something extreme if you don't freaking listen to me in whatever capacity that might be. You know what? I don't want to take a break yet. I'm going to delay the break a little bit. We're going to play a little more of Tucker saying a couple other things. And again, President Trump has now come out and said that Tucker Carlson is a low IQ person, which I find funny whenever Trump does that. I don't necessarily think that's true. I just do think it's amusing. But here's a little bit more of Tucker saying how we can't invade a country and steal their stuff.
One thing that every person knows that is, in a civilized country, you can't steal without penalty. It's not allowed. That doesn't belong to you. You can't shoplift. You can't rob banks. You can't embezzle. You can't invade countries to steal their stuff, because they're all varieties of the same theme, which is theft. And theft is wrong. It's wrong under the American legal code, but it's also wrong under the Christian legal code. Theft is wrong.
Yeah.
Spelled out really clearly. It's also intuitive. And here was the president saying, we're just stealing this because we can.
That's not what he said.
Well, as a practical matter, that's quite a thing to say out loud, given that we know from history that the things you do will be done unto you. Once you set a standard, you will have to live by that standard. Write a law, you will be judged by that law.
I think that all of this was designed to take a very extreme, very narrow interpretation of some of the things Trump was doing, to reject the idea that anything that this president does can be contextualized to a degree to make it excusable behavior, when it might not be the thing that you or I would do if we were in a position of power, and maybe that's why we're not in a position of power. I also hear this other thing with Tucker, and I wanted to play this audio, as I said, to open the show, because it's a big controversy on social media, and the president has weighed in by calling Tucker Carlson a low IQ person. I see many people, and I sort of know some of them. I don't actually know any of them in any sense well. I wouldn't say I'm friends with or interact with, or even, I wouldn't even call myself like colleagues with any of these individuals who are talking head people, but I've met some of them, at least occasionally. And I think a lot of people right now very much full of themselves, very much drinking their own Kool-Aid, as I said a second ago, and trying to be the new it person in the conservative party. They want the thing that Trump has now had for several years. He's had for 9-10 years at least, which is ownership of a majority of the initial discussion points within the party. What Trump says, and whether or not you agree with it or disagree with, is usually the starting point of almost any discussion in politics right now. So President Trump is the MAGA party, whatever you want to call it, and more people today are okay with being described as MAGA than before, which I find funny and interesting, and I don't mind if somebody calls me MAGA. Personally, it doesn't bother me at all. But nonetheless, what I think is interesting about this is people are envious of that, it seems like, in the other political places, because being able to shape political discourse is a tremendously beneficial thing. President Trump has been elected twice, maybe 3 times, to the office of president because of his ability to shape political discourse, and then to kind of demonstrate where he thinks he is, aligned with more people than not. Him winning the popular vote, I think, reflected not that President Trump told people what to think, but a lot of people thought things that President Trump was saying out loud, similar to Rush Limbaugh or anyone else that's ever gotten that moniker. I think right now people are attempting to do this. And I think Tucker is couching a lot of his discussion in religion, because even as he's saying certain things and saying these are ways that Trump behaved that you or nobody else should ever behave, he kind of also knows that if you use the blanket of religion, it's harder to attack the person saying something because of that respect system that he said was sort of innately involved in that. And I do also think that's wrong. I'm a Catholic. I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian. I go to church. I do all that stuff. I'm not going to back down in a disagreement if during it you just tell me, well, it's what my religion believes. If the thing you're saying is horrible, like, murdering people, or, treating women as horribly as a lot of countries that use a blanket of religion do, whether it's just the way in which they can dress or the things that happen to women if they don't follow very strict, very ridiculous laws that are designed, it seems, to cause people to be in likely trouble at some point with the government or whatnot. But anyway, I just thought that was really fascinating. One last thing. I'm going to use this as a lighter palate cleanser before I take my first break. President Trump yesterday also said that he and Kim Jong-un get along quite well, and that Kim Jong-un used to refer to Joe Biden as retarded. I just thought this was funny, so I figured at the tail end of the Tucker discussion and debate, and Tucker going after Trump for him thinking that President Trump was both religiously offensive and then just actually, like, language-wise offensive. I just thought that was too interesting to discuss. But here, let's play this, and then we'll take a break.
To protect us from Kim Jong-un, who I get along with very well, as you know. Do you notice he said very nice things about me? He used to call Joe Biden a mentally retarded person, okay? So don't tell me about your stuff. Joe Biden, he said he's a mentally retarded person. He was so nasty to Joe Biden. It was terrible. But to me, he likes Trump. And do you notice how nice things are with North Korea? It's very nice. But we have 45,000 people, soldiers, in harm's way, and right next to Kim Jong-un with a lot of nuclear weapons. 45, which should have never happened.
Yeah, by the way, I'll stop it right there. One other thing that Tucker Carlson did reference is the potential likelihood of President Trump to use a nuclear weapon. That was another thing that came up during his show, and I obviously think that's ridiculous. But if you're making an argument, it's a valuable thing to pretend is true to further enhance your side of a debate. All right, we'll take a break. A lot coming up. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source, and these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender, license number 263213.
At EasyCater, we believe every workday gets better with great food. Like that morning status meeting, always better with bagels. And don't forget the coffee. Ops team working late? How about some Power Bowls to keep them going strong? Sandy's celebrating 10 years at the company. This calls for cupcakes. With EasyCater, you get a huge variety of favorite restaurants with tools to help meet dietary needs and stay on budget, all on one platform. So make every workday better with EasyCater. Start an order at easycater.com.
How was your break? It was great until I stopped for gas. Prices have gone up almost $1 with no end in sight. I might have to start watching how much I drive.
That's exactly why I use Upside. I never pay full price for gas with the free Upside app.
Upside?
Yes, Upside. It's the free app that gives you cash back just for buying the gas you're already buying. So even with the rising gas prices, I'll never have to limit how much I drive.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Just last year, I made over $200 with the Upside app.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app right now.
Download the free Upside app to earn cash back on the gas you're already buying. Use promo code STATION for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code STATION for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first fill-up. That's STATION.
Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
And we, just so you understand, the people of Venezuela, they say if I ran for president of Venezuela, I'm polling higher than anybody has ever polled in Venezuela.
He crushed,
So after I'm
apparently.
finished with this, I can go to Venezuela. I will quickly learn Spanish. It won't take too long. I'm good at language. And I will go to Venezuela. I'm going to run for president. But we're very happy with the president-elect that we have right now.
Yeah, behaving better.
The people that are running it. If you remember Bush with Iraq.
Yeah, I'll stop it actually right there. I don't want to get into the next point. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. That is President Trump yesterday saying he should probably run Venezuela next, which I thought was hilarious. And the whole, I'll learn Spanish, I'll learn it quickly. I have somewhat tried, probably not as much as I should have tried, since I am married to someone who was born and raised in Mexico and fluent in Spanish, but I should try harder. I don't know if it's quite that easy, sir, especially the older we get in life, the harder it seems to be to pick up language. I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying anything like that. I just think it's interesting. I am getting some messages on social media, at Radio Craig C, on X and Twitter, whatever one you want to call that. X, I guess, is what it is now, or at Radio Craig C on Facebook if you want to interact with me on either of those platforms. There is someone that says they don't want to give their name, that said they are a giant fan of Tucker Carlson and have been a giant fan of Tucker Carlson for a long time, but they do now, more often than not, wonder why Tucker Carlson is saying the things he's saying and where it's coming from. Even if he, this person, this listener, that used to listen to me in a different place in Illinois, actually, that listens online, so thank you for still listening, but says that even in these situations where he might agree with something, Tucker just seems to take it to an extreme, further than whatever the point would be where the listener and the fan still thinks that he might agree with him. I see that, actually. I'll say that. And I was talking about Tucker Carlson earlier. President Trump has now officially called him a low IQ person because Tucker Carlson has said and done things that seem to very much be pretty hardcore anti what Trump is doing, not just simplistically, I don't agree with him on this, I don't agree with him on that, but taking it to steps where Tucker made reference to Trump potentially using nuclear weapons in the fight with Iran. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, if you're not aware, President Trump has agreed to a ceasefire that'll be 2 weeks long with Iran. This came pretty close to the deadline that would have happened in about 30 minutes, where President Trump said he would have bombed them back to the Stone Age if Iran didn't open the Strait of Hormuz and do other things. So a lot of that is happening. But anyway, to get back to it a second ago about Tucker and just the extreme take, because I think a lot of people, especially on the left, would have thought that Tucker was always very extreme. But if you actually watched what he did on television and watched a lot of the things he said, there was a measure to it that is different now. It is less measured today than it was before. And I wonder if that's because of the platform they're on. And it's not just Tucker. There's other people that fall into this boat too, that the likelihood of being less measured might be because you don't have an overlord, a company overlord, telling you what you can and cannot say. Maybe you're less afraid of litigation than, say, a company would be. So you say more of whatever it is you believe. And if they sue you, you got the freedom of speech, baby. So it'll be fine. But I also think it's a need to build new audience. You see this everywhere. Anywhere where social media is a predominant tool to get a message out. And whatever that might be. Social media can be Substack. It can be anything. YouTube. You name it. It's technically a version of media that's designed to create a social communication or social interaction. In any of those things, it seems like it's very much just pushed by money now. If I don't advertise, and this radio station, KSEV Radio, does not advertise by paying Facebook or YouTube or any of those platforms to push our stuff out there, it seems really unlikely that our accounts are going to grow. We do have a YouTube page, KSEV Radio, excuse me. We also have a Rumble page, KSEV Radio. I mentioned this on the Amigos on Friday, but I'll just say it here because it's contextually relevant to the thing I'm talking about Tucker Carlson. Rumble won't let you search for our page right now. And I emailed them about it. I was like, hey, Rumble, I like you. Your platform's awesome. Why can't you search for KSEV Radio? You can find Chris Salcedo. He's been doing stuff for a while on his own platform on places like Rumble. So he's very accessible. which is cool. That's cool because he's our morning show host. But anyway, obviously, as I assume anyone listening to this show knows. But anyway, the thing that I thought was interesting is because we're a relatively new page and we don't have a lot of followers, they won't even let us pop up in the search bar. Even YouTube lets you search for KSEV Radio and find it. So I think we are getting a few more followers there. It's under 100 on both pages right now, and they've existed for a few months. And it's not going to crack any level of being shared with anybody until it gets quite a bit larger of an audience. 35 subscribers right now on YouTube. I am live at KSEV Radio there, and Rumble, and my Twitter, my X, at Radio Craig Z. But we're not going to pay for that. This is something that I've just sort of spearheaded here at this company because I think that our company should have a larger social media following, that it doesn't. But the whole point of talking about this is to bring it back to Tucker Carlson and people like that of the world. There's really only two ways, I think, for someone to be successful in a social media place, in a internet place, whatever that place might be, on a consistent basis, where you're making money off of every video you put out there. One way is to build a ridiculously large following, and you would do that, you would build that up and up and up more by doing things that break you free from whoever your current cone of followers is. And this is where you be very dramatic, very insane. You say stuff that seems over the top and you want to go viral. It's similar to President Trump, actually. The things he says on social media that makes all of the world react to him, and people like Tucker Carlson accuse him of being a terrible person, it also breaks through whatever that limit thing is that seems to be on all of us right now. So many people really only interact with a small amount of additional people via the internet. Pretty similar to, your regular life. You're kind of stuck in a cone. And the best way to break out of that cone is to be controversial. So I see that again and again and again from Candace Owens, from a lot of these people, some of them who make money because it works. They get more followers, more viewers, more subscribers. I don't know if they essentially get more fans or not. I don't think that's what it is, but something. And so that's step one. Or step two, pay these people. This is the thing they ask for all the time. YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is, pay us. Pay us a lot of money. Give it to us now, and we'll make your thing much more accessible to a lot of people. And so I kind of think that part of the reason that it's a struggle is because if you're not paying them, they want to suppress you. They want to force you into a place where you have to pay them in order to get that exposure that you're not getting without it. But so it's either or. You pick your poison in the world of the internet today. And I just think that that's a big component as to why many of these voices that have been such long supporters of President Trump or sort of easily connected to typical conservative ideals are now saying some occasionally crazy things or just extreme and ridiculous things, is they're trying to keep or build an audience that they're monetizing. It's probably not good for our society. I'll say this last thing, and then I got to take another break, and we'll come back and we'll close the show with some silly stuff and then maybe a little stuff that's not this. But I think about this more than I should, and I wonder if you do too. And you can call in and be a part of the show if you want to at KSEV Radio to jump in with me. But because of how much consumption of information now happens through a highly curated, I pick exactly what places I'm going to go to find the information I'm looking for, because it's so specified by every individual in our society now. I think there's a chance that a lot of us are misinformed. Obviously, you think that too, in a pretty negative way, and then can be even further misinformed because we're just not curious enough. Many people aren't. Maybe the people who listen to shows like this are an exception to the rule. They don't follow this rule, but a lot of people seem to follow it. You're not curious enough to look more places, to see a few more things before you decide you know something. It's the old, if I can Google it and get the result that I think is true on the first shot, then I'm right and I don't need to look any further, a version of a thing. And I especially think it's the reason why we have, and I'm going to say this the nice way, which is not all that nice, a lot of dumb young people, a lot of people who don't seem to know basic things, a basic history, who think that communism is a good idea, or socialism or some form of it is a great idea because they've Googled the one result, they've read the one thing, maybe it was even just a headline, I'm like, oh, that sounds great. Force everybody to share stuff. What could possibly go bad about that, et cetera, et cetera. I just see that all the time as kind of the and honestly, I've gotten a little bit more into TikTok recently. My wife stopped using TikTok, which I thought was probably a smart move. She was using it a lot just to watch silly videos, and then she stopped. And I'm not popular at all on TikTok. Don't go follow me there. I think there's a few rodeo videos at Radio Craig Z, but certainly not a lot of valuable stuff, even less than my Twitter. But I've really started to pay attention to the algorithms that exist specifically on TikTok and how they serve so much information to so many people right now. And whether they're monetized or not, it's really fascinating to think about the way in which a majority of people in our society, especially of a younger generation, are now mostly informed by things they see on TikTok. And that doesn't mean everything on TikTok's bad. Some stuff's pretty good. Some stuff I learn breaking news sometimes from being on that social media platform compared to another one. But as I say that, there's also a lot of times that I see something and I go, this is evidently not true. And I happen to know it's not true because of what I do for a living. I wonder how many people saw it and think it is true. But all right, we'll take another break. We'll come back. We'll do a quick 4-ish. Those are sillier topics or more lighthearted things, just to give us a break from all the serious stuff. We will also probably close out the show with a little more of the breaking news of today, which is the President of the United States, after, I think, believably threatening to do something that would have had a strong, strong impact on society, certainly on Iran. He has now said that there will be a 2-week ceasefire in the ongoing conflict between the U.S., Iran, and Israel. We work out some things to get back to a place where we think we are getting what we want out of that deal. This is after getting very close to a deadline that would have, as Trump put it, bombed them back to the Stone Age. I do think, and you can tell me I'm a crazy Trump-supporting, biased person for saying this, that his behavior is what got us here. The believability of someone to not only say certain things, whether it's a social media post on Easter, on Truth Social, with a bad word in it and mockery of faith, whatever your take is, negative or positive, in the 48 hours of President Trump behavior that has occurred here, I think that solely because of that behavior, we are now in a place where Iran has, it seems, agreed to almost anything we wanted in order to not be bombed back to the Stone Age. But all right, quick break, a lot more. It's Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts.
Spring is here and summer just around the corner, which means it's time to deep root fertilize your trees in addition to spraying for insects and disease. Let Ability Trees help maintain their value and repair all damage. Fed and prune tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace should be done by experts. And the experts I use, it's very clear. It's Ability Tree Experts and Louis Flory.
My friend for over 40 years.
Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees. And pruning limits resistance to spring storms and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs. So don't wait to protect your investment at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree prune. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
We got a call late New Year's Eve. A dad's garage door spring just snapped. He had big plans the next day and didn't know what to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. When you need help, we're the ones who show up. From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor.
Jim Clark, a.k.a. Check-A-Pro Joe here. Houston's best contractors. Houston's smartest homeowners. It all starts, Joe. Now hear my show every Thursday at 12 noon. Right here on AM 700 KSEV. the voice of Texas.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Hi, this is Paul Betancourt. Property values may have peaked, making 2026 a must-year to protest your property taxes. Sign up with my excellent Betancourt tax advisor team at btanow.com, as our experienced senior property tax agents and customer service matter. The taxman says do it now.
Sign up with Betancourt Tax Advisors by going online to btanow.com or by calling Paul's professional property team at 713-263-6100.
The world's largest nudist colony is located over in France.
Yeah, it's a great place to hang out.
What piece of golf equipment always comes with dimples?
My caddy.
Hold on, I actually got to hit my microphone on. I'm going to stop it right there. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. That's a canned laughter on an episode of Funny You Should Ask that's old. Louis Anderson is on that episode. It's from 2022. Recently posted on social media by an account run by Byron Allen. The reason I'm playing that is CBS has announced the replacement for The Colbert Show, and Byron Allen's going to be paying for 2 hours of television where he runs old reruns of his comedy or comedian-based shows, Comics Unleashed and Funny You Should Ask. That's how valuable the time slot was to CBS after the end of the Colbert Show. It's not going to some other talk show host to do some other talk show thing. It's paid programming, and it's going to be paid programming that may or may not be pretty old, not exactly brand new stuff from 2022, 23, or even older than that. Maybe some new episodes, who knows. I find that to be highly interesting because a lot of people, and again, this is leading us into some silly stuff that I want to talk about that's not necessarily serious stuff. But a lot of people thought that Colbert got canceled, fired because of President Trump. And CBS said it was a business decision, that they were not making money off of a late show, and most people don't watch late-night television anymore because of how ridiculously one-sided it is. I played audio of the actor Vince Vaughn complaining about that about a week or so ago, that it feels more like people that are trying to evangelize their political beliefs rather than just entertain people. And that's true. And it's become so degraded, so it lacks so much value as a platform now compared to what it once had, that somebody like Byron Allen can come along and buy it to air old comedians talking to each other TV shows. I just find that really interesting. I won't be watching that show, not because I like or dislike it all that much. It's just not something that I do at all. You know what's funny about this, too, real quick, before I get into the quick four-ish, which are just sillier topics that, again, I do to try to get us away from just talking about serious stuff, even though we only get 1 hour to talk to each other every day on the show. I remember my mom going to sleep every night to Jay Leno. It was a thing she did. It was just always on. The habit was so ingrained that actually my brother and I knew if we could sneak out of the house, I shouldn't be saying this, when Jay Leno came on. Once you heard it on the TV in Ma's room, you're like, I might be able to sneak out for a little while, and then I'll come back, and hopefully no one notices. And I think sometimes that worked, and probably sometimes it didn't. But nonetheless, that habit has been broken for so many Americans. Most people no longer turn on the TV, watch the late-night news, your local news, and then have it lead into your late-night talk show the way that most people used to. And my mother actually just texted me She said that Jay Leno was escape. He wasn't necessarily more of the same crap that you were dealing with all day. And that's honestly part of the reason to do a quick 4-ish segment, too, is to move on from serious stuff that you've probably heard 7 different takes or maybe the same take 7 times all day today. So we're going to do that. We're going to move on to some of the lighter stuff that's out there in the world. But one more time, I just think it's hilarious that CBS will be replacing what was at one point a really, really valuable thing, a late-night talk show that did well competing against the legendary Tonight Show, that now is so useless, you're going to put a paid program thing in by a guy who might not even be making new episodes of a comedian talk show. All right, let's do other stuff. I thought this was interesting. What do you do after Ozempic? Maybe you get a divorce. This is a brand new study that went out there. Ozempic, Mounjaro, all these different things. Apparently, they are a catalyst to more people deciding to end relationships. Here's why I thought that was really interesting. 12,500 married participants were surveyed about something. 14% of them, said that their marriage ended up in divorce within 6 years of significant weight loss. Whether it's triggered by Ozempic, Mounjaro, any of those things, or just going to the gym a lot and working out, I think someone who suddenly is trying to get in really good shape in a relationship wants out, but they're being uniquely selfish in wanting to make sure before they get out, they're desirable to other people. I think that's really what it is. And so I don't think the cause of it is Ozempic or any of that stuff. I think that there are people in this world who think that, I need to be this certain level of attractive if I'm single again, and I might not be as attractive as I need to be successful dating. So I'm going to get attractive first, and then I'm going to end my relationship. And that is awful. I do think that's terrible. It also is trying to mitigate, I guess, the assumption of loneliness that might be there. But if you don't want to be in your relationship, grow up, sack up, do whatever you need to do to go ahead and tell the person that this is something that's over, and then get in good shape, I think. I think you don't need to do one before the other. But that was my assessment of it. I thought it was interesting that the take is that weight loss drugs are causing people to get divorces, when I don't necessarily think that's true. I think people who want to get divorced are turning to weight loss drugs before getting divorced. 33% of young people still live with their parents. This was another new study that was out there. Specifically, 18 to 34-year-olds were asked during the pandemic, after the pandemic, maybe between the ages of 18 and 34, living with their parents. And I think I mentioned it a second ago when I said that there's some habits that just change in our society for whatever reason. There's a lot of young people that seem like they have no interest in wanting to get out from their house with their parents. And that's so far removed from what many of us wanted. Many people didn't want to live at home. If you lived at home for any amount of time past a certain age, you were doing it because financially it was the only option. If any other option came along, you did not prefer to live at home. In fact, it was the last thing you'd do in the list of, well, we'll go here or we'll do this before we do this, and inevitably we go here. And that's changed now. I know a lot of, I don't know the young people. I know the parents of the young people who tell me that their kid doesn't really want to learn how to drive, doesn't really want to get a job, doesn't want to do any of that stuff because they'd rather just sit at home, play video games, and interact with their friends, no matter how old they get. And I think that is the thing you got to cut off. I think that's a version of a thing where if you have someone living at home, working no jobs, doing nothing to try to create an opportunity for themselves to be elsewhere, that these are people that need to be kicked to the curb. This is funny, I barely ever talk about this. I was living at home working 3 jobs at the same time one summer after a semester at college, and I was no longer going to go back to the college that I was at the time, and I was deciding what to do next. I was working 3 jobs, and my mother and I still had a situation where I decided I was going to move out, and I think I had a buddy that wanted me to move in with him, and then I actually wound up going to school in a different city, so that's where I moved. But there's just that kind of thing that should be in the back of your brain that you want to move out. You're like, I want to be somewhere else that's not here, and I want to do that as quickly as I can. But I remember joking about that with friends of mine when they were like, did you leave the house because you weren't doing anything? you weren't working anymore, you weren't trying any longer, and maybe Ma wanted to kick you out. And I'm like, I had 3 jobs at the time that I decided to, mutually decided to no longer live in that house. So I just think that's interesting, too, that people sometimes, quite often, I think, sort of disregard the behaviors of previous generations when they talk about where the line is today, because the line today feels insane compared to what it was a short time ago. Other things out there, the stickiest cities in America was a list that recently went viral online. MoveBuddha.com, which is not a place I normally go, is the place that originally published this. These are places where it's very hot and very humid, and maybe even sidewalks are covered with things like chewing gum and junk. So it's just sticky, just everything's sticky. Those were the criteria they used. And Charlotte, North Carolina was number 1. Greenville, South Carolina, number 2. Daytona Beach, Florida, came in at number 3. And I was somewhat recently, about a year ago or so, spending some time in Daytona Beach, and I agree with them. It is pretty sticky. Indianapolis, Indiana, came in at 8 on this list. I thought that was kind of interesting. And actually, it reminded me of one other thing. Dallas, Texas, number 7, by the way. Houston, not in the top 10. I guess we're not as sticky as other places. We're more humid and less sticky. You feel the heat more so than you feel like it's completely stuck to you. Maybe you might disagree with that. I only have a couple minutes left. I went to the beach over the weekend. I went to Surfside, and it was awesome. I had a great time. I went in the water, and then I found out that you guys here in Texas thought that it was cold this past weekend, and I did not. I thought it was lovely, beautiful weather. The water temperature was in like the 70s. The outdoor temperature, I think, was in like the 70s or 80s, and I plan on going back to the beach. I just thought that was so funny that I was talking to some people saying it was too cold to go to the beach, and maybe this is the sticky weather that we're all assuming is coming in the next few months here in Houston. You guys don't know how good you have it sometimes. I will say that, because it's much less, sticky, and also just much less nice in a lot of other parts of this country, especially where I was living for so long in Chicago, that I just found that really amusing, that people were sort of surprised I went swimming last weekend. My car also got broken into. I feel like that's something I can just say. Figure it's a palate cleanser. You know what? I'm going to talk about this probably on another radio station that I fill in on occasionally, because it's been something I've talked about before, and I'm going to have to explain it all to you in just a few minutes, anyone listening to this show. But I bought a Frost Buddy. This is something that keeps your drinks cold. It's supposed to be $50. I bought it on Black Friday. Mine was like $20. But it had a Yankee thing on it. And I'm very happy with my item that essentially was a can koozie, for lack of saying it a better way. And it got stolen when somebody broke into my car. They didn't steal anything else. This is a real story. This just happened to me a couple days ago. They broke into my car. They ransacked my stuff. Things were everywhere. We had to look and make sure that, like, my wife's sunglasses weren't stolen. They're not crazy nice or anything, but I guess I would have taken them if I was thieving in the middle of the night in somebody's car. But nothing. They took nothing. They didn't take chargers. Luckily, there were no phones, no valuable items inside the car that they would have taken. I'm smart enough to not do that. I just thought it was so interesting, though. The one thing they stole was the Frost Buddy. And so the joke, I'll explain it to you here with a minute or so to go, is my wife did it. This is the joke I've been saying at home. Because to believe that someone broke into my car, ransacked the entire thing, looked through everything, and found only one item that they thought was valuable enough to steal is hilarious. First and foremost, I'm sort of proud of myself that I don't have fancier things in the car. But then also the thing that was stolen was the thing my wife thought was the biggest waste of money in the last few months out of anything I bought. It makes me suspicious, people. It makes me curious that the missus might have, orchestrated the heist, the hoax, in order to convince me that a thing was gone that she thought was dumb that we had in the first place. She wouldn't do that. My wife would never do anything like that. I just think it's a really funny joke, and I'm probably going to talk about it, as I said, at another radio place with some other radio people, because they knew, this is the first time I'm telling you, my wife thought it was a ridiculously stupid purchase to buy a Yankee Frost Buddy that you put other drinks in that keeps those drinks cold. But I got to tell you, it only took me about 24 hours to realize it's been missing, and I miss it profoundly. I love the Frost Buddy, but it's not Black Friday anymore, so now they're $50. And $50 is a lot harder to justify than $20 was for a silly thing, and the only thing thieves seem to find enough value in stealing. All right, that's the show. That's it. I'm out of here. See you guys tomorrow. The Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGB.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas. AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump is pulling back on his threat